Ukrainian President Zelensky has underestimated the potential consequences of an attack on the Kursk region. According to this expert, an attack on the Kursk border region would require enormous resources from Ukraine. This could be useful for maintaining the crumbling front in Donbass. Failure in this border venture and simultaneous failure in Donbass would raise many questions among Ukrainian armed forces personnel about their military leaders. Expert Gresson warns that Zelensky's hasty decision risks becoming the beginning of the end for the Ukrainian army. According to the analyst, an unsuccessful attack on Kursk would endanger the already limited Western support for Ukraine. As a result, in Germany, the stance of anti-war forces opposing any supply to Ukraine could be strengthened. Meanwhile, former Assistant Secretary of Defense for International Security Charles Freeman stated in an interview with the YouTube channel Freedom Program that Ukrainian President Zelensky decided to attack the Kursk region in an attempt to boost the morale of the Ukrainian armed forces. According to this expert, Zelensky is also trying to show American and European bankers that he can still cause damage to Russia, but has failed. Freeman described Ukraine's attack on Kursk as a desperate move. In related developments, according to Ukrainska Pravda, in his nightly speech, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky mentioned that they are documenting all locations used by Russian troops to carry out attacks, including the Belgorod region, Kursk, and other areas. Just since the beginning of this summer, nearly 2,000 attacks have been conducted from districts in Russia's Kursk region targeting Ukraine's Sumy region, including using artillery, mortars, and drones. Zelensky stated that they are documenting every missile attack, and each attack deserves a proper response, while maintaining Russian territory. The British newspaper reported that Kyiv had planned the attack well in advance. The former Minister of Defense declared that the true goal of this campaign was to divert Russian troops from other areas on the front line and bring the fighting into Russia to prevent public support for military activities against Kyiv. He claimed that the purpose of this campaign was also to expose Russian weaknesses and gain the initiative in the conflict after months of Russian victories in Donbass and other regions. Ukraine's surprise raid into Kursk demonstrated Ukraine's impressive deployment capabilities while exposing many weaknesses in Russia. However, it is still too early to predict the outcome of the conflict between the two countries. Previously, the Kyiv military had conducted a reconnaissance attack on Russia's Kursk region. At this point, the Ukrainian military has advanced up to 30 km inside Russian territory. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky described the attack as a retaliation against Russia, which has conducted 2,000 cross-border attacks from Kursk this summer alone. According to journalist Ian Birrell of the Daily Mail, Ukraine was well prepared before launching the raid, starting with efforts to attack Russian information systems and UAV mobility, along with strong artillery support. The attack involved regular Ukrainian military forces rather than untrained militia. Russian supply convoys rushed to reinforce after the border was attacked, but were hindered by mines laid by Ukraine. Media also showed many Ukrainian tanks advancing into Kursk while capturing a certain number of enemy personnel. These actions demonstrated impressive operational planning. The element of surprise has helped Ukraine regain hope in the face of the stalemate at Pokrovsk. Ivan Kirishevsky, a military commentator for Defense Express, stated that Ukraine's silence before the Kursk attack helped make the campaign successful. Time will tell whether this is a long-term step in the right direction for Ukraine or merely a delay tactic to force Moscow to spread its forces away from the conflict area where Kyiv is struggling. However, it is certain that this attack has dispelled many doubts about Ukraine's ability to engage in the conflict with Russia, given Moscow's recent successes in the east of the country. According to Birrell, Kyiv has once again demonstrated its military capability when equipped with modern weapons, similar to their remarkable victories against Russia's Black Sea Fleet. To date, Moscow has maintained a significant advantage in the conflict as the front line is within Ukraine's territory, allowing it not to concentrate military resources on defending its border. Russia's battlefield advantage has been reinforced for months due to the limitations imposed by the US and the West on the weapons available to Ukraine. With these countries giving the green light for Ukraine to attack Russian territory with aid weapons, Kyiv now has a chance to reverse Moscow's existing advantage. Ukraine's cross-border attack has forced Russia into a reactive position and exposed weaknesses in its Soviet-style top-down command structure. expert Birel assessed that the advantage in manpower of Russia could become a weakness due to the difficulty large battalions have in adapting quickly to changes. Earlier last week, an unnamed Ukrainian official also suggested that Russia appears to be struggling with coordination and preparation for action. There is no clear sign yet whether Ukraine will continue attacking Russia to negotiate peace in the future, or if it will withdraw after the raid to force Russia to strengthen its border defenses. According to Birel, it is clear that Ukraine is trying to prove that the Kursk attack is a correct decision in its effort to maintain a presence on the front line. Increasing evidence suggests that Ukrainian forces, some or all of the 5,000-strong brigades, along with at least one 400-strong independent battalion, plan to stay. Ukraine is digging trenches, predicting that the fighting along or near the current front line will continue. The Russian military is also making similar moves. The increased fortification by both sides does not mean that Ukraine has completed its attack. It also does not mean that Russia cannot counterattack and push Ukrainian forces back towards the border 16 km away. This means that the front line is gradually stabilizing and a prolonged Ukrainian incursion as part of the Kursk campaign is being considered. Russian military reporter Alexander Kachenko has observed Ukrainian forces digging trenches in Kursk, describing it as the worst possible scenario. Ukrainian sources also report that industrial excavators from both sides are active on the front line. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has acknowledged that his country's army has launched a raid into Russia's Kursk region. Zelensky stated that this surprise attack aims to restore justice and pressure Russian military forces. He mentioned that he had discussed this raid with Commander-in-Chief Oleksandr Shyrsky, committing to a strong response to Russia's military plans in Ukraine. Currently, with US support being resumed, Russian forces around Kursk cannot rely on Ukraine depleting its ammunition to capture them. To push thousands of Ukrainian soldiers out of Kursk, they would need to capture a trench one at a time, unless the Kremlin can organize a strong counterattack before Ukraine's trenches are completed. However, Kharchenko warned that the window of opportunity is closing quickly, and Ukrainian attacks are impeding Russian reinforcements from reaching the Kursk front. Russian formations are facing Ukrainian sabotage and reconnaissance groups, UAVs and artillery. Will Kursk stabilize, and when will it happen? Until that question is answered, this area could become another major front in the 29-month-long conflict between Russia and Ukraine. Ukraine has the potential to deploy up to 10,000 troops in Kursk and the neighboring Sumy region. According to the Ukrainian Center for Strategic Defense, Russia's Southern Combat Group is trying to deploy 10 to 11 battalions to the front. However, 10 battalions are only the initial formation. The Southern Combat Group has about 48,000 troops. Whether Russia abandons its offensive on Votchansk and other frontline towns and cities or not, the Russian military may shift significant forces to Kursk. In fact, drawing Russian military attention to deplete their forces along other fronts may be the main goal of Ukraine's cross-border raid. According to assessments, Kyiv may be trying to divert Russia's attention from the eastern front of Ukraine. Recently, Ukrainian Armed Forces Commander Oleksandr Shyrsky stated that the Ukrainian military campaign is ongoing. However, he did not specify if this campaign refers to the Ukrainian forces in Kursk. Previously, a sabotage and reconnaissance group from the Ukrainian Armed Forces infiltrated Belovsky district in Kursk, but Russian troops managed to stabilize the situation. Additionally, on the Telegram channel specializing in Russian-Ukrainian war coverage, it was reported that the Ukrainian armed forces attempted to infiltrate the Russian territory in Belgorod province. According to the Telegram channel, the incident occurred in Grayvoronsky district near Kozinki. The Russian Ministry of Defense has yet to comment on this information. According to the Telegram channel, Ukrainian forces operated with mobile groups using armored vehicles. However, Russian troops blocked the Ukrainian armed forces at the border village of Bezimino and destroyed Ukrainian military equipment. In another development, Chechen leader Ramzan Kadyrov announced that Russian forces had destroyed Ukrainian military convoys and captured NATO equipment as trophies in Kursk province. On Telegram, Kadyrov wrote that the results of the rapid measures taken were quite impressive. Our troops have captured a lot of NATO weapons and equipment. Kadyrov also noted that he has no doubt about the full combat capability of the Russian armed forces and the effectiveness of its military units. Kadyrov stated that Ukrainian troops were attacked by the Akhmat Chechnya regiment of the Russian Ministry of Defense under the leadership of Aslanbek Salav. The 810th Independent Marine Brigade also participated in the fighting, and surviving Ukrainian soldiers were blocked near the site of the clash. Meanwhile, retired colonel of the Ukrainian Security Service SBU Oleg Starikov commented on the fate of Ukrainian forces in Kursk. He predicted that they would eventually be eliminated after some time. Starikov compared the current events in Kursk with the situation in the village of Karinki in Kherson province, where Kyiv's efforts to control it were in vain and suffered heavy losses. He added that such a foothold cannot last long. The Karimsky Veta news agency reported that